And welcome back, everyone. Hello, hello. It is day 4 of the Cloud Confidence 5-day challenge, the Speak Up and Stand Out challenge, that is. I'm Brandon Carroll, and I want to thank you for joining me. If you've been here for the previous 3 days, then you'll know that things look a little bit different because for the last 3 days, we've been doing the challenge while I've been out of town in the desert. Well, I'm back in the home studio today, and so things are a little bit different today, but just as good. The stuff we're going to cover today is amazing. So I want to jump right into it and really get going with today's discussion, right? Our tip and then our challenge for you to perform. So today is going to be a fun day. Today's going to be a fun day. We're going to recap what we've done for the last 3 days. Well, we'll just review quickly those 3 teaching points that I covered. And then we're going to talk about the STAR method. And I'll share a little bit with you about why I love the STAR method and how you can use it. And then we're going to give you your challenge task for the day and send you on your way. So with that said, let's get into it and let's talk about a recap of what we did for the last 3 days. So if you were following along, then you know that we started out on day 1 and we talked about the PAR method. And that was the problem, the action, and the result. And the context around the PAR method was so that your achievements could be recognized, so that you could be known for what you've done in an organization, right? You want to stand out. So you state the problem that you have, you talk about the action and the results, and you back that up with data, and that helps you and your accomplishments to be visible. The other thing that we talked about was the PREP framework. That was on day 2. And the PREP framework was the point, the reason, your example, and then you restate the point with conviction, right? And this is a great method to use when you'd like to perform an upgrade to something, or you need to spend money on something that's going to be beneficial to the organization. You have to state the point. You have to give them some reason as to why you need this, why you're lobbying for this, maybe this configuration, maybe this product, this vendor. Provide some examples and then restate that point, right? Yesterday, we talked about the AIR technique. And that was align, impact, and request, right? So we want to gain alignment first, make sure that we're aligned with the stakeholder. Then you share the impact, and then you make the request, right? And you don't leave without that action of the request. Okay, and then we had our challenge tasks for each day. Have you done them? Have you done those challenge tasks? They really take you like 5-10 minutes. Do those challenge tasks and write it down, post it in our Facebook group or in our LinkedIn group, right? And then we can talk about it and provide some feedback. So that's what we've already done. So today, we're going to get into the STAR method. And I'll tell you, the STAR method is it's a structured way for you to answer questions, right? So imagine somebody's asking you a question and you're going to answer it in a way that sort of tells a story, but provides some relevant details. The STAR method is awesome. And in fact, for those of you that are interested in employment at AWS, AWS loves the STAR method in an interview. So it's definitely something that's worth learning and putting into your arsenal. So the way it works is you have 4 elements. You have the S, which is the situation, the T, which is the task, A is action, and R is result. So let's break each of these down for you. Okay, so the situation, what does that mean? This is where you sort of set the stage, right? You're giving the person that has asked you the question the context of your example that you're going to end up providing. And when we're dealing with stakeholders, they really need to understand the background to be able to understand why your actions were significant and why the results were the way they were. So here's a couple of examples, a cloud security example, Might be the situation was that our team identified a vulnerability in the IAM policy that allowed too much permissions, over permissioning. That could be part of it. Or it could be in cybersecurity. During a pen test, we discovered that our outdated WAF rules were allowing some suspicious traffic. That's not good, right? So you set the stage, and that's what we do in the first part of the STAR method. Okay, the next thing that we do is we talk about the task. This is where you sort of classify what your role was in this situation, what your objectives were. You're giving them clarity of what you did, right? This is the task that I performed. It gives them insight as to, really what was at stake in this situation. So here's an example of how it might come across in cloud security. I was tasked to review the IAM configuration so that I could identify and eliminate those excessive permissions, the ones that we shouldn't have. Okay, so that was the task that you were assigned to do. In cybersecurity, with that example, it could be that my job was to create and deploy the updated WAF rules that would block that suspicious traffic that we were seeing. Okay, so we have our situation and we have our task. Okay, what's next? What's the next step in the STAR method? Well, it's the action. The action is getting down to the nitty-gritty. What did you do? What were the specific steps that you took to address the situation and to achieve whatever outcome you wanted, right? Your goal. This is where you highlight your technical expertise, your problem-solving skills. So here's the cloud security example. I analyzed the usage patterns. I implemented least privilege policies, and I created automation scripts to enforce compliance. In cybersecurity, here's the example for that one, right? You ready for this? I updated the WAF rules. I implemented real-time monitoring, and I tested against known attack vectors to make sure that we were protected and that we had enough coverage. What you'll notice I did there was I said I. It's real easy to think back to a story and to tell it with the STAR method and tell it as if you're part of the team that was assigned to do that. And you say, we. But remember, we want you to stand out, right? You're the one that's putting in the work. You're the one that needs to be noticed. So make sure that when you talk about the action is, I did this. This is what I did. This is what I'm capable of. And that person that's asked you the question, this is going to instill confidence in them that you know what you're talking about because you're the one that performed the actions. Okay, the last step of the STAR technique is the result. And of course, any story, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So if the situation was the beginning, right, and the task and the actions were the meat, the middle of it, then now we're coming to the end of the story, and this is the result. This is where you share what happened based on your actions, right? And you want to focus on what's measurable and what was impactful, right? This is where you really show your value. Okay, so in that cloud security example, we would say something like, that updated IAM policy that I implemented reduced the over permission rules by 80%, and it lowered our attack surface significantly. Fantastic, right? You show the value, you show the impact. For the cybersecurity example, we would say something like the new WAF rules blocked 98% of that suspicious traffic that we were previously seeing, and it improved our overall security posture. Again, impact, right? And it's what you accomplished. So that's exactly what we want to do here. All right, now let me give you some implementation tips, a couple of do's and don'ts, right? So what do you want to do? You want to be specific with the details. You want to focus on what you did, your actions, right? You want to keep the story on point, right? Beginning, middle, end. Don't deviate. It's easy to start bringing in details from other things that happened. Oh, here was a side situation. We don't need that, right? Stick to the script. STAR. Stick to it, right? You want to include multiple positive results. But if you do, I will say this, if you do have some negative results in there, they should be proving your point of why you're telling the story. Does that make sense? Right? So if it's a negative result, then there should be an action in there that you took that was saying this is not going to work and this is why. Because maybe that's the type of story you're telling, right? A time when you knew something was going to go bad, but nobody would listen to you. How did you handle it, right? What was the outcome? All right. Also, focus on using the word I, right? Try to get rid of the word we from your vocabulary. All right. And here's the don'ts. Here's the don'ts. Don't ramble. Don't include too much information. And don't generalize. Be specific to the task. Don't skip over the results. That's the key. You want to get to the end of that story. So you're looking for the results. And then don't embellish the story, right? This isn't a TV show. It's just, you're just answering a question, right? And I already mentioned this. I'll say it one more time because it's really important with the STAR method. Don't focus on what the team did, right? Focus on what you did. Okay. That's where we're at there. Let's talk about our challenge for today. All right. Our challenge for today is to think of a time when you solved a problem that was tough, or a time when you were driving an initiative that was really important, or something that you did that made an impact. There's a couple examples here. Maybe you resolved a security incident. Maybe you improved compliance by setting up some automation. But whatever it was, think of that situation and then structure that story using the STAR method. And then share that with the group. Do that in our Facebook group. Do that in our LinkedIn group, whichever platform is more comfortable for you. And don't include any sensitive information in there. We got to keep it clean there. Make sure that sensitive security information is sanitized, right? Okay. So that's your challenge for today. Before I go, I see that there is a question there coming in through LinkedIn. How do I get relevant experience and get real internships? That's a great question. I'll tell you this. You're doing the right thing to start out. Learn all the aspects of working in this field of technology, from the technical to the non-technical, just like this stuff. It's maybe not necessarily non-technical, but it bridges the gap. So if you're here and if you want to put this to use, go ahead and do today's challenge and post it in the group. Make sure you join that group. And come back tomorrow at the same time, where we're going to cover our final teaching point of the 5-day challenge and give you your last challenge point. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again tomorrow.